I'd like to call the City Commission meeting here on Thursday, February 1st, 2024 at 6:02 p.m. here in the Johnson City Chambers Municipal and Safety Building. At this time, we will have an invocation by Commissioner Joe Wise, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us please stand.
Gracious God, we thank you for the opportunity to live in a community of peace, to have an opportunity to come together and peaceably and agreeably exchange ideas and express opinions of differing sorts. We pray that you will bless this meeting and its outcomes to our greatest common good, and we pray all these things in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
If you'll turn and face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice Mayor, thank you for presiding over this meeting. We would like to ask the commission if we could make some adjustments to the order of the agenda. Staff would recommend that we move the manager's report, which is the employee survey, to make it item number 6, after proclamations, resolutions, and presentations. We would also, and I think we can do this in the same motion, we would also pull item 6 under bid 6.2, item 6.2.1. That was a bid that we received, and after reviewing the numbers, there was some incorrect numbers that were provided that we're in the process of verifying. So we would ask that that item be removed.
Make that motion.
Yeah, I'll second.
Let's call the roll. Ms. Laus?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
So your next order of business is to consider item 3.1. This is approval of the minutes for the regularly scheduled City Commission meeting held on Thursday, January 18th, 2024.
Move for approval.
Second.
Ms. Laus, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor, we had no one sign up for public comment tonight. We do have 2 ordinances that allow for public comment later on.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ball.
And now it's proclamations. We are at proclamations, resolutions, and presentations. And if you want to make your way down, I will introduce, and we have a very nice looking crowd. Thank you all for being here. Presentation of a proclamation recognizing Young Professionals of Johnson City Day. And we would ask someone, Mackenzie, are you going to come up?
I think they all should come up. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because we'll get behind you and get a picture made. How about that? Yeah, for some of them, this is their first time on TV.
It's my first time too. If you all don't stay through the meeting, there won't even be anybody here.
You can slide down a little bit. If you want there.
Well, welcome. We have this mayoral proclamation for you all. If I may, I will read it. Whereas young professionals are integral in validity and growth of the communities they reside in. And whereas they are both the present and future of our business, government, schools, places of worship, volunteer organizations, and more. And whereas our organization seeks to further connect, develop, and serve them. And whereas Johnson City young professionals specifically are stepping up to lead our communities, our state, and our nation forward today and every day. Now, therefore, I, Aaron T. Murphy, Vice Mayor of Johnson City, Tennessee, do hereby proclaim February 9th, 2024 as Young Professionals of Johnson City Day. Yay. Well, we have Mackenzie Templeton here, and if you would like to share a few words and pass it down to your colleagues here, we would like to hear from you guys.
We're really excited to be here today. We've got a good standing representation of our group. We know we've accomplished a lot in the 2 years. We're standing here today because of the city's intentionality behind the attraction and retention of young professionals. And I think the metrics that we've been able to show just within our group over the last 2 years has been testimony to how great this program has been, and only the start. So we're really excited. I would love for you all to be able to introduce yourselves and maybe just tell something that you really enjoyed specifically about YP. Favorite memory, favorite event, something like that.
Wonderful. Nathan Farner, I work at ETSU. Very excited to be involved with YP and serving as chair of Young Professionals of Johnson City this year. I think the thing I'm most excited about is in honor of our 2-year anniversary, on Monday and Tuesday, several folks, both in this room and across the area, will be traveling to Nashville for our first YP Day on the Hill to meet with legislators on behalf of YP at Johnson City. So very exciting time to be a part of YP. Well, I keep saying we're entering our terrible twos, so we're only going to get bigger, only going to get better. Very excited.
Yeah, my name's Patrick Guinness, General Manager for the Johnson City Doughboys and Chair-elect this year for YP. For me, it's the service to community, giving back, and being, and integrating ourselves within the community, and couldn't do it without the support of, the city and our commissioners, so thank you all for everything.
My name is Seth Graves, and I joined YP about a year ago today. I'm the secretary of the advisory council for YP, and one of my favorite things about YP is I've really found my social environment after moving back from Madrid, Spain last year. I honestly have found so much enjoyment and professional connections from this group, and I'm very thankful every day that I'm part of this community.
Hi, Matthew Albritton. I work for Ferguson Wealth Management. I serve on the Young Professionals Advisory Council as the chair of experience. I don't really want to share an experience, I guess, but you may or may not remember this, Ms. Brock, but a few years ago, before this even started in motion, I called you and I spoke about the idea of retaining young talent in the area. And it was a great conversation, and it was very, it helped give me that energy to say, like, okay, I want to stay in this area and want to help fuel this initiative. And then years later, for us to really put it in motion and to be where we are now, I think is a really beautiful thing.
Well, I'm glad I answered the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for the nice compliment.
My name is Victoria Denty, and I am a remote healthcare worker. And let's see, I moved to Johnson City a few years ago, and I'm very thankful that Johnson City has such a great young professionals group that has helped me grow professionally and personally. And I'm very grateful that we have this here.
Hey y'all, my name is Jacob Aaliyah, and I do commercial banking at Community First Bank, and as well as some of the other guys and gals up here serve on the YP Advisory Council. And I'm actually a transplant to Johnson City. I came here about 18 months ago, and the professional connections have been fantastic, but the personal connections and the friendships are really, I think, what helps put it over the top and make me love being a part of this group. So can't wait to have many more memories with all these people.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Fields. I work with the High Road Agency. I recently joined YP, even though the gray hair kind of lets you know that I'm a little bit on the upper end of the scale. But honestly, the thing I've loved is I wish back during my college days and then also the beginning of my young professional career that I would have had this kind of community where it wasn't just people that I got along with, but honestly, the breadth of knowledge and the breadth of experience that is even standing up here and not standing in this room is amazing. So.
Hi, I'm Jessie Wang. I'm an assistant dean at East Tennessee State University. And I'm going to echo a lot of your sentiments. It's the community. It brings people together. It breaks down silos. And so I think we as a community are stronger together, learning from one another, and this organization gives us that opportunity. So I'm very grateful to be a part of it.
Hello, my name is Paul Baxter Jr. I'm the owner of PBJ Lights and Sound, an entertainment company. YP is an excellent source of just networking all together around, from business to entertainment to all scales of things, including the volunteering that the organization does for the community.
And I'm Derek Merle. I'm a method development scientist at Crown Laboratories just down the road. Being a young professionals has just been my entrance into society, basically, because I'm a standoffish person anyway. So it's just been a really good opportunity to meet a lot of good people and learn a lot of good things.
Hello, I'm Emily Colvin. I'm the Assistant Director of the Innovation Lab for ETSU, and I've been a part of YP for about a year now, coming up on 1 year. And I, as many people have mentioned, really appreciate the opportunities for networking and building relationships personally and professionally. And I think each event that I go to, I meet somebody new. There's a new face there represented, and so I really enjoy that aspect of meeting new people.
Corey Blasky, Greater Impact Realty. Moved here in 2020, had no sense of community, was in a pandemic. Young professionals have given me that sense of community. I'm grateful every day that I get to be a part of it. I also now serve as the chair of growth for young professionals here.
Hey, to close us out, my name is Austin Ball. I'm a manager with HSN in Piney Flats, and I'm going to second everything everybody just said here and add. I've appreciated the opportunity to experience and serve this community more intentionally through this group. So thank you very much to everyone that's involved in making it happen.
Can we get a picture if they'll slide over? We'll get up behind you here.
I'm not a commissioner.
Yeah. No, come on over just a little bit more, I think. Yeah. Thank y'all. Thank you, Mackenzie. Good job.
And before you all leave, if Mackenzie ever suggests that you apply for boards and commissions,
Yes.
please apply for boards and commissions. And if Mackenzie doesn't suggest it, please apply for boards and commissions.
Thank you, Commissioners. And with the amended agenda, the next item will be the manager's report, and it will be on the results of the employee survey. We have Assistant City Manager Steve Willis making that presentation.
Wow, I can empty a room. So before we get into the survey tonight, I would like to ask our City Attorney, Sonny Sandos, to come forward. Sonny informed us last Friday that she had accepted a position in the private sector. So we're very happy for her, but very sad for us. But we want to recognize her for her almost 5 years of service. I believe April of 19. You joined the city. So Sonny, thank you so much. Just a small token of our appreciation for your service to our city and its citizens. Thank you very much. And open it up to the floor.
Well, first off, I would like to thank you all for the great honor of entrusting me with this responsibility of serving the city as the city attorney. It truly has been a privilege, and anytime that we make these life-changing transitions, it can be difficult to move through. What has really guided me in this change and kept me very optimistic and enthusiastic are the relationships that I'm going to be carrying with me. So I am so grateful for the colleagues that I have worked with, for this board that I've served, for the citizens that we've worked with closely. It really has been a wonderful, wonderful experience, and I'm very thankful and honored to have had the opportunity to be a part of the city in this instrumental way for the last 5 years. So thank you each.
Well, Sonny, thank you so much. It's been a great honor to know you. I knew your name when you were at ETSU, but when you came over, it was great to be able to get to meet you. Now, you have to promise me one thing. I started working with Sonny's daughter in golf when she was just, what, 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 7 years old. And she's turned into just an amazing young lady and very competitive golfer, so you've got to keep me up to date, okay?
Absolutely. I'm going to be calling you for lessons and
Okay.
take her out.
Anytime.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Well,
Congratulations.
Best wishes. Congratulations.
Slideshow up here. Vice Mayor Murphy, Commissioners, Ms. Ball, Ms. Laux, thank you for the opportunity to share some exciting data with you here tonight regarding our recent employee survey. Get it going here. So, to give you a little background about the survey, it is a national benchmark survey that is recommended once you undertake this activity to repeat about every 3 years. And when we initially signed on to this activity back in 2017, the NRC, National Research Center, was the name of the company that we engaged through an RFP process that is now POCO. Their name has changed, but the basis of the survey has not changed. So our responses from our employee population is compared to about 30,000 employees in local government across the nation. So it gives you an excellent benchmark baseline to compare not only yourselves when you complete multiple surveys, but also against your peers throughout the country. It evaluates opinions with what I characterize as 8 organizational pillars: quality of community, quality of governance, employee engagement, workplace essentials, organizational morale and climate, employee development, employee fairness and inclusion, and lastly, internal support services. So for our 2023 survey, we had 497 surveys returned compared to 475 in 2019, 467 in 2017. So a really good level of participation by our employees. So just some highlights that I'll point out, and I want to preface this by saying we have a tremendous amount of data that we could spend hours on, and perhaps we'll get the opportunity to do that later. But I just want to give you some basic highlights and comparisons and some things that we're really proud of as a city. In 2019, 60% of our employee responses were lower than the national benchmarks. Obviously, benchmark across 3 phases. You're either similar to the benchmark, higher than, or lower than. And in 2019, a significant number of our responses were lower than the benchmarks. But I'm excited to report to you that in 2023, all our results were higher than or at least similar to all of those national benchmarks. So we are certainly improving, and we're happy to report that to you. Employees have confidence in the organization. We saw a significant jump in that particular category from 51%, answering that in the positive back in 2019, jumping up to 67% in our most recent survey. And the percentage of those employees who feel like the city is acting in the best interest of the community jumped 20 percentage points from 55% up to 75%. And I think that bodes well for all of you and your leadership, particularly Ms. Ball. Continuing with that theme, our employees' overall agreement with the direction the city is taking went from 63% to 75%, so significant gains there. And then for you as an elected body, I felt this was important to include. The overall confidence of our employees in the leadership of you as an elected board came in at 72% positive, which is higher than the national benchmark by at least 5 percentage points. So you're to be commended for your support and your vision for this city. And then most employees, in fact, 8 out of 10 also felt very confident in senior staff and leadership. So we work together, and our employees appreciate our efforts to support them. One of the things that is most telling, and quite honestly that I'm most proud of, is our growth in our supervisory group, because I will tell you, in 2017, during our first survey, I don't know how else to characterize it other than our supervisors were rated extremely, extremely low. We had a significant opportunity for improvement there. And our most recent survey certainly shows that the work we've put into that has been successful. Communication, again, coming from the supervisory level, jumped from a 35% positive rating in 2019 to 75% in 2023. So 40 percentage points higher. I think you can attribute that to numerous factors. Obviously, we've invested a lot in communications and marketing. We get that information disseminated out into the line leadership, and now we've made that step to get it to that next level, to ensure that the people who are doing the work every single day understand and have communication from the top. And it has to start at the top. Another very positive stat, welcoming employees in decision-making jumped from 53% to 70%, so 17 percentage points. So you can look at that in a couple of different ways. I think there has been significant improvement in the employee appraisal process. And then I think there has been significant improvement with supervisors allowing employees to make decisions day to day that they know how to make. We trust them to make good decisions, and they value that. And I think that's what that stat shows us. So significant gains in the supervisory levels. And to continue on with that, as I just mentioned, encouraging innovative problem solving among employees, a huge jump there, 38% all the way up to 74%. You ask an employee what they think, and you take that into consideration, and you allow them to solve problems for you. As a supervisor, that's probably the most important thing you can do. Always hire people smarter than you are, right? And our supervisors are doing a great job with that. And then another great stat, recognizing high-performing employees went from 33% positive up to 64% in 2023. Now, certainly we'd like for that number to be higher, and we'll work to get that number higher, but it almost has doubled over that period of time. When I came in 2015, a theme that I heard as I was out in departments talking with employees, they would say, an employee might say, Steve, I do A+ work, and my coworker does C+ work. But you know what? There's no difference between he and I, or she and I. We're recognized the same. We're not valued for doing A+ work. I think we've changed that narrative, and we'll continue to work to change that narrative moving forward. Part of that process is that annual performance appraisal and sitting down with employees and setting goals together rather than it being a one-sided equation. And I think employees value that, and these responses prove it out. So some other results, going back to those 8 pillars, quality of community. Johnson City as a place to live, our employees rated that at a 78% positive level. And, you know, really the quality of government is often revealed through the quality of the community served. You know, if our community respects our employees and appreciates what they do, obviously they're going to work harder. Another stat that relates to this particular pillar that I wanted to point out that I don't have on the slide is 85% of our employees, if asked by someone else, would recommend living in Johnson City. So I think that speaks volume to our community and our quality of community. Quality of governance, the overall quality of the services provided by the city. 83% responded positively in that particular pillar. Employees want to be part of a team, and they want to be part of a team that's supported and respected by the community and supported by management, their supervisors, our leadership. And I think that we've proven that we're going to support them and give them the tools and equipment they need to do their job and do it well. Employee engagement. The question was, overall, I'm satisfied with my job, or that was at least one in this pillar. 87% of the folks that responded to the survey were satisfied. And I think the way that you do that, and we talked a lot about this in HR in the past and even since I've been back, you don't want to have surprises. When you interview an employee for a position and then you onboard that employee for the position, You make it very clear what the expectations are. You make it very clear what the requirements of the position is. Because if you falsely present something or you don't tell the whole story and the employee gets here and in a month they're like, wow, they didn't tell me that. You know, that leads to unnecessary turnover, which is not healthy for any organization. So we've worked really hard to provide clarity in the responsibility of positions, and then also to provide opportunity for development for our employees as well.
Mr. Willis,
Yes,
on
ma'am.
these questions, are there national standards or benchmarks as
Yes,
well?
and we're higher than all those benchmarks in
Okay,
these
so
categories.
Across the board, it's
Yes,
higher.
yes, ma'am. Some new things and some other things that are also noteworthy. Polco added some new inclusion-related questions this year that had not been on the previous surveys, and we were similar to all the benchmarks in each of those 12 categories. Of the questions that had been asked previously, we scored 13 to 15% higher than the 2019 survey, and one that I wanted to point out to you, a question that asked, does the city foster a respectful atmosphere? In 2023, 75% of employees said, yes, we do. In 2019, 60% said, yes, we do. In 2017, only 47% said that we did that. So I think we've made significant strides in the area of showing folks respect. Then additionally, 86% of our survey respondents felt that their supervisor, their direct supervisor, values employees from diverse backgrounds, which I think bodes very well for us as we move forward. We asked a couple of open-ended questions. The first one was related to our health clinic, and that was really for internal purposes, for our utilization and things of that nature, so I didn't include it in the presentation. But the one I did is, what one thing could Johnson City do to improve the organization for employees? There were 365 responses to that question, and we tried to group those based on category. 77% were regarding pay in some form or fashion. 61% of our employees felt compensation was excellent or good, compared to 37% in 2019 and only 28% in 2017. Again, that's a credit to the folks sitting at this dais who made the commitment to get our rates as close to or higher than the market as we could, and that didn't happen overnight. So thank you for your efforts in supporting that. 40 responses were regarding perks and benefits. We have a very competitive, very healthy benefit package. 79% felt the benefits were excellent or good, compared to 67% in 2019 and 61% in 2017. Then back to the communication piece, there were 39 responses related to communication. 56% felt the city does an excellent or good job communicating, compared to 32% in 2019 and 29% back in 2017. So what have we learned? I had the benefit of being here for the 17 survey, the 2019 survey, and to a certain extent the 2023 survey. It was already underway and had been completed when I returned. But when I read through reports of all three surveys, some things stood out to me. Our improvements from 2017 to 2019 is what I would characterize as transactional activities, primarily processes, policies, procedures, and workflows. That first survey provided us a lot of low-hanging fruit, and that's a very overused term, I know that. And everybody thinks, well, it's easy to change a policy. Well, in an organization as complex and as broad as ours, it isn't easy to change a policy. There's a lot of work that has to go behind that. But I think we did a good job, particularly between 17 and 19, of being focused on those transactional activities, because quite honestly, that's where the bulk of the responses were focused upon. But what I would share with you today for the 2023 survey is that our improvements from that point of time until current were related to organizational culture, which is defined as the values, beliefs, practices, and behaviors established by what? By leadership that contribute to the social and psychological environment of an organization. I'm dating myself here with this quote from Peter Drucker. I think he's been dead 18 years now.
He still has stuff to say.
But he does, and I love his MBO approach to management. But he said culture eats strategy for breakfast, and I fully believe that. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if you have a toxic culture, you're never going to execute on that strategy, and you certainly aren't going to be successful as an organization. So some examples of why I believe that this shift in culture has happened and the data that backs it up. 80% of responses were positive to the questions I'm getting ready to put up here. Treating employees with respect. Feeling positively challenged in my job. My values fit with the organization's values. I see a career path for me at Johnson City. Encouraging employees to use their own judgment to perform their work. And lastly, the mission and vision of Johnson City make me feel my job is important. As leaders, sometimes the hardest thing to do to change a culture is to recognize that we are just one voice around the table, not the voice at the table. Collaboration is critical. Different schools of thought are critical if we're going to be successful. And then connecting the day-to-day work with that vision and that strategy that you guys have established for us to try to achieve. And that last question, mission and vision of Johnson City make me feel my job is important. I think that tells us we're making that connection. And I think we're going to see further success as we move forward because of that. Opportunities. With as good as the data is, we still have opportunities for improvement for sure. One area that we've identified is cross-departmental cooperation. As complex as we are, there are always chances for breakdowns between departments. You know, water, sewer, public works, they have to work hand in hand on so many projects, and it's easy sometimes to get overwhelmed, and perhaps the right hand don't know what the left hand is fully doing. So we have opportunities for improvement there. Some specific issues within departments that may very well lead back to some of those policies and procedures that we may need to tweak or revise. And then the speed of response to important issues or changes. I think, again, that's just a product of a very large, complex organization. We have people spread across this city every day from one city line to the other, all doing different types of work and very complex work, different work schedules. So getting information out is not as easy as you might think. And then communicating information to help employees understand the problems and issues facing the city. And when you dig into that one a little deeper, it's not talking about that day-to-day communication on, okay, how are we going to accomplish the goal for this week? It's more about issues that are going to face the city in the future. You know, how are we going to fund our, budgeting and things of that nature. So we have an opportunity to get more information out, such as that, to our line level employees. So larger issues, not necessarily the day-to-day ones. So our next steps, we've shared our survey results with all the department heads and asked them to dig into those areas specific to them. And then they've had the results for about 2 weeks. So then we will ask for their input, bring them back together, and start to flush out some action plans to address the areas of concern. It isn't rocket science, right? You ask the employees, you get that information, then you just start working on it. And that's what we've done across all 3 of these surveys, and this one will be no different. So great news. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and as we might do in the future, have further workshop to dig into these data points a little further.
Yeah, that was going to be my request.
We can do that, sir.
Yeah, I think I've served on the commission since 2017. I was here for the first 2 and am very excited to see the third. When we began that process, we joined a select group of local governments. So when we look at a benchmark, we're looking at a benchmark about other local governments that care enough to survey their employees, which is already a subset of all local government employees. And so to be exceeding those benchmarks means even more than it might at first blush.
Yes.
The city is in a people business. And the truth is, in my 30-some years of looking at City Hall and looking at the City Commission and looking at meetings that happened in this room, we haven't always treated our people in a way that conveyed that they mattered and that their contributions were valued. And so it's exciting to see us turning the corner. And when you have a history like that, that shapes culture whether you meant for it to or not. And so if you don't know what your culture is, you just don't have the culture you want. You have a culture. And when I first ran in 2016, I said there were 3 things that mattered to me as it related to city employees and to the city as a whole, and what the City Commission could do to encourage that. And that was that employees were empowered, they were supported, and lest you think it's all about kumbaya, they were held accountable. And so if you do those 3 things, you can radically change the culture that you're about. And when you have 1,000 employees working across 20-plus departments from city line to city line 24/7, if your corporate culture isn't right, you will be misfiring. And so I think, particularly over the last 2.5 years, we have had a huge change in our leadership and management staff, not just at the city manager level, but 2 new assistant city managers, new public works, new fire chief, new police chief, new Parks and Rec director, and you know, just to begin. So that we're talking about the majority of our employees now work for different supervisors who work for different assistant city managers. And so I think it's really important for us as a commission to look at more granular detail, partly because I just like looking at granular detail. But I also think it would be very helpful to us to unpack what those next opportunities are. We've been continually making improvement. We've made huge improvement here. We can't stop, but to continue to do that is going to require us to look at things in new ways. And so I just am really excited and pleased in the progress that's been made.
Yeah, I'd like to make a few comments, and so Commissioner Wise, I'll back a little bit pre-2017, when we didn't have a survey. It kind of gets down to this question you have to ask yourself. You better want what you ask for, because you may just get it.
That's right.
Not all cities do this. And so it took a lot of work. Mr. Willis was our head of HR at that time, and I know personally you did a lot of work to get our administration to say, okay, it could be painful, but it established a baseline for this city to operate from. The great thing is to sit here today and see how all these years have passed, but how things have changed, because even on the early one, which, you know, there were a lot of challenges and a lot of things that we had to take a hard look at. But we use those things to guide us in you know, not only our behaviors, our, you know, big one was compensation. A lot of cities and businesses don't want to ask employees if they're happy with their compensation, because, you know, they'll need to do something about it.
Right.
Well, we did. You know, we used that data very respectfully and honestly to say, how do we move forward? You can't do it all at one time, but you at least have a plan on how to get there. And I think we've made some great progress along those lines. You know, Joe, to your comments too, or I guess Steve, to yours, culture is everything. And we have all seen, for those of us who've sat up here for many years, we've seen the culture change. We have new employees. We have new demographics. And I'm so glad you asked the question about diversity, and we have challenges there to continue to make sure that there's a place for everyone in our community to work here, if that's, you know, an opportunity for them. So, Steve, I'm going to first thank you for your leadership on this. You helped get it started, and then you left for a while, but thank goodness you came back.
But I was blessed to come back to see it.
That's right.
Again, so.
And, you know, to this commission as well. I mean, we started in 2019, you know, developing a set of governing principles for ourselves. And hopefully that made me feel really good to see the confidence in this board. I kind of wanted to do a high five there, but And finally, Kathy, to you, you know, you have brought an element in here of optimism that we can do things. I think I told you what one of my favorite kind of slogans is in the last few days, and that is, you know, we're not going to be remembered for what we do when it's easy, but what we do when it's hard. And I appreciate you because you don't shy away from the hard things. Maybe we want to kind of not have as many of those, but I appreciate that. And I know we will use this in guidance in our budget planning and in the future direction for 2024. So, but thank you.
Any business or organization's greatest resource is not the service they offer, but it's the people that provide the service, because without them, there's no business or organization. I was really impressed with the statistics that were and results that were shared on today, especially with the one regarding how the supervisor makes the employees feel. You have a large jump from 38% in 2019 to 2023, 74%. That is a substantial a jump there, and you know, no one is really going to care about what you care about until they know you care about them. And so having opportunities where you wake up and not feel like, oh, I got to go to work, to, oh, I get to come serve, and seeing the morale and the attitude and the energy that is passed around here in this organization is very encouraging. And I do want to tip my hat off to all management in place now, and not to look at those who went before us to say, oh, you got it wrong, but it's how can we evolve and improve, because anything that doesn't evolve and improves, it doesn't exist anymore. You look at the circuit cities and other kinds of stores and efforts that no longer exist. But I do want to say, let's keep evolving and looking to see how we can be better than what we were before.
And I'd just added, I mean, these are great results. When I came on the commission in 2018, I appreciated the quote because Larry Calhoun had just been appointed to serve on the commission a little bit prior to me coming on board. And that was a quote that he would constantly bring up in our workshops and meetings. And we were also, well, I guess the prior commission was wrapping up the rebranding of the city with the tagline, "Go all out." And, you know, actions speak louder than words. And now I think we're definitely living up to that tagline. And, you know, I'd also point out that the results are not jaded or distorted by the years of COVID, which could have impacted and whatnot. These are pre-COVID and post-COVID numbers, so it's a fair, you know, look at how employees look at things. We're not looking at, you know, something that there's an outlier. It's great to see that, and I'm glad to see the employees thriving and happy.
When I heard "Go All Out" the first time, I thought of it as more aspirational, and now I think it's more declarative.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Willis.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, because I'm gonna cry, so stop, so don't do that. I will say one thing is that this commission, for me, set me up for success, because the minute that I started looking, it was very clear about when Steve said people want to know what's expected and then they can do it. It was very clear, these are the things we want done. So, and when I look at it, you all set me up for success by saying, here are the things we need you to accomplish. And so from that, and then moving that forward to other employees, it has been a lesson for me to learn and me to move forward on. And I think the constant thing for several meetings was, we're glad to have you here. And I remember constantly thinking, the resource that was in the room, that was around these tables, was the real resource. I may be here and I may be glad to be here, but what I saw were the people who were here. And, this is incredible. It's not a reflection of me. I think it's, for some reason, being able to tap into that and seeing the spirit. And I will tell you, these are people who truly want to serve our community. They don't talk about things in terms of what time they get off or what they do. They here to make the lives of people better. And to see that validated is incredible. There's nothing that can be more rewarding. But I will tell you, it is because of the staff that we have, the energy, effort, ability to pull together. And it has been very hard. It's been hard for a lot of folks. But I will tell you, we keep saying we do it together. We do it as a team, and they've really pulled through. So thank you. And Commission, I had not seen this report fully until tonight because I wanted to make sure I could say, I hadn't had that opportunity. But I'm very humble, very grateful, very blessed, and I will try to get through the rest of the meeting.
As we look to a workshop, though, it would be very interesting to kind of break down those numbers a little bit to understand, for example, those sort of next stage opportunities, but also to see, where, I know survey respondents were given the opportunity to just write words, just tell us whatever was on their mind. I'd love to see what they had to say.
Absolutely.
I would love to see how those specific questions compare, because I think we've learned a lot from the two previous surveys, and we learned a lot from this one. So thank you.
Ms. Ball?
Yes, the next order of business, which is now item number 7, is the consent agenda.
I will turn to my right.
Well, only because it's in the news and it's kind of a hot topic. I want to pull 6.1.1.
6.1.1.
Because it was all over the news last night.
Already.
And so do I.
Okay.
So, I'll just lead it with a little bit of introduction. Same thing, and I watched some of the hearings in Washington this morning on this topic of social media. So it's very timely, but also, and we have our school board here tonight, Chair Kathy Hall and Superintendent Dr. Barnett, they're the ones who brought this to us through our city attorney. And I think I really want the community to hear that from your perspective as well, how it's affecting our children and why y'all push this forward. So it's, let's see if Attorney Santos wants to give an introduction to it, and then y'all can.
Before we do that, let's see if there's any other items.
You have any others?
You have any other items?
I don't.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, 6.1.1. Sandos, if you will.
Yes, this item was first brought to me by Dr. Barnett. I had the opportunity to review the litigation proposed, as well as the supporting documents that would engage counsel for this action. This is an action that is being implemented across the state as well as across the nation. There are, I can't remember the exact number, but it's in the hundreds of the overall total that are going to be joining into similar actions. This is not a class action. Class actions are whenever you've got a small group that will represent the whole. In this action, each one of these entities is individually represented through their engagement, which you've seen as the backup document, and pursues this action. There is no cost to the school system or the city. That's a big limitation on the liability, meaning in the event there's not a favorable outcome, what might you be having to pay? That's all mitigated through those documents that you've seen as your backup documents. I'm going to let them present a little more about the actual logistics of the action, since they've already presented this to the school board, and you'll see also that the school board has approved moving forward pending consideration of this board.
Any other questions for Ms. Sandos? Any questions? All right. Ms. Halls, good to have you on today.
Nice to be here. So this has been a really interesting journey for us. We first first really considered this lawsuit when we were in Nashville for our Tennessee School Boards Association conference. And Chris McCarty, who is an attorney that works for us now, did a presentation along with someone from the California law firm who is doing a lot of this work, and really kind of brought us through the thought process of this. You know, it's based a little bit, we had several years ago the Jewel lawsuits, And several of the systems around here saw some benefit from there. This is a much larger lawsuit, but it really is something that affects all of our students. There is no doubt that some of the behaviors of social media have affected our students negatively. There's no doubt that we have had costs for mental health programs, et cetera, because of some of the social media practices. We know that this, we use social media as a system. We use it personally. I think everyone probably in this room has a social media account. We're not trying to stop social media.
Randy Trivet doesn't.
He has a flip phone.
There's always one in every crowd. We're not trying to stop social media. We're really trying to make sure that they are behaving in a way that is not harmful for our students. And so this lawsuit really brings critical mass. We hear some of the really tragic stories, and when we're hearing some of the congressional hearings, we hear some very tragic stories. And those are individual lawsuits. This really brings critical mass to that. So there are, right now, before us, there were 34 systems in Tennessee alone that are looking at this. And those are local systems as well as Shelby County, Metro Nashville, Knox County, that have joined this lawsuit already. So getting that many students behind or engaged in this lawsuit is really bringing critical mass to the effort, and the attorneys that are working on this feel strongly that it's the right thing to do. We're doing this, if there are damages that we realize, that's great, but we're really doing this to change behavior.
What is the ask in this lawsuit when it goes, what are they wanting to have happen?
They're asking, I think, and I am not in on those meetings with the attorneys, but really two things. They're asking to change the behavior, such as algorithms, advertising, letting people in that should not be in, talking to young people, as well as paying for damages for behavior that's already happened.
Could you, and this may be more a Dr. Barnett question, but it
He's
may
at
be
the ready.
both of you. In one sense, it's kind of curious as schools or in social media, and yet, if you don't have a direct exposure with kids or grandkids in schools, it may be helpful to hear from Dr. Barnett. What are the implications? I mean, there's stuff happening every day in our schools that you can draw a straight line back to social media. Talk through what some of those things are.
Well, students that receive, you're trying to get through your work day, but you send out information on social media, and through your day, you do not receive the likes for what you put out there, or some negative, even much more harmful, the negative or bullying types of behavior because of a post that you made, people piling on, making fun of students who make posts, and it's just very harmful that occurs. It can be prevented, and we believe, as Mrs. Hall said, changing the behavior of the social media companies is the real intent. It's not to have a windfall for our school district. It is to protect children by changing algorithms and changing behavior from social media companies.
Dr. Barnett, do y'all do any forums or roundtables with some of the students what is their attitude about it? Do they feel like something needs to be done, or what kind of
We do that
advice are you
through our
getting from the
counselors
kids?
generally, and absolutely, the students
Mm-hmm.
would like to see that happen. Students that we've talked to, and students that you just talk to anecdotally. It's people have their feelings hurt, but it goes more deeply into depression and very negative thoughts about themselves. And there's an addictive nature that's been shown to social media as well. They'll spend hours and hours on social media. Adults do it too, and wasted time.
And some of it's beyond feelings hurt. Some of
Absolutely.
it are overt threats. And,
That's
and
right.
some of it
And
is.
I'm glad you said that. Sometimes it's just threats. We have to, from a school system standpoint, every year we take time with our police department investigating threats that are put on social media, generally cloaked. Sometimes not. The ones that are direct are a lot easier to deal with, but it's easy to go in with a fake name and make a threat towards someone else and put videos on social media, and we spend up hours and days sometimes with the police department and local, state, and those connections sometimes with FBI trying to track down threats.
And what was
that
it
are harmful to
the
students.
year or two ago when students were being encouraged to vandalize the schools, and it had a cute little name? I don't remember now what it was.
The TikTok, and you're supposed to vandalize and take things like toilets out and sinks out.
Yeah, rip the
and
sink off the
take them
restroom
out of the
wall.
school. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then you have.
And you have to think that the social media companies could, by way of algorithm, reduce the spread of that.
Absolutely.
But they chose not to.
Chose not to. The things that the students, this is the nature of it. You see it, you see more of it. Some of these algorithms, I'm looking at something, it continues to come up and look at that. And, fortunately, we had very little of that in our system, but one of the things that also happens is videos where it looks like, or they'll tag it as your school, and it's really not your school. And then with the public and with students, when students see that, they think these things have happened in their own school building when they really didn't. And you have to research that and look at the furniture, look at walls. It's amazing the things that we've done. It's like, that's not even one of our school buildings. We don't have anything that looks like that. But on the front end, a lot of damage is already done in the public and with our students, and that concern, that worry that they have, and sometimes fear.
How does the school system monitor, if to make sure there are no threats out there, or get in on as quickly as possible?
We have a Stop It app that families use. It goes straight to the police department, not to us. And we investigate threats that come through that in our families. We encourage students in our schools. We encourage our community to, if they see something, hear something, to say something. And some of those threats, some of those concerns come to our counselors and to our teachers, but a lot of times it'll go through that Stop It app. We investigate all those. And Johnson City Police Department's been a fantastic partner helping us with that. But I think through the process of students going through school, they hear that repeatedly. It's almost 20 years as a school principal. I always said to parents when they told us something was going on, I really appreciate you telling me. If I don't know about it, I can't do anything about it. And parents are really quick, and a lot of times students are very quick to let us know when they see something they think might be inappropriate. And then we can act on that and work through that threat.
So, Dr. Barnett, do you find that engagement is a problem during school hours or after school hours, or both?
Both. That's a concern of ours with cell phone use, mobile phone use. But you can also get on social media without your phone, as you all know, if you have other devices. Our board has a winter workshop on Tuesday, and it's going to be one of our topics of I keep saying Tuesday. Got it in my head it was Tuesday because it made sense. It's Monday.
You'll be late.
I'll be late. I'm going to show up at our workshop, and nobody will be there. But we're going to talk about that and talk about phone use, but especially at the high school. If you're an elementary student, middle school, it's really simple. You take your cell phone, you put it in your backpack, you turn it off. Put it in your locker if you're in a middle school. Elementary stays in your backpack if you have one. High school is a totally different kind of situation. So we're going to be talking about that with the board on Monday as one of our topics to discuss. And it really goes hand in hand, I think, with this social media lawsuit.
Are the phones used as a device to research and things like that in classes? Or?
Not so much anymore. That was the argument at one time, but with Chromebooks in every student's hand, really can't see a really good use for that. We have calculators that are provided to all of our students if they need it for mathematics. They can have graphing calculators if they need that. But we use Chromebooks, and they can use their Chromebook for any kind of research that they need to do.
Well, you kind of see, and I'm not saying this is our local schools, but being connected to other communities, when fights break out on campuses, you'll see those, not running to break it up, but pulling out a phone and wanting to post it on their social media platforms. And so I do find that very problematic to promote those type of activities and instead of things that are positive. So we are in a day and age where you know, it seems like generations are more so desensitized due to certain violent behaviors and involvements to what we watch and music we listen to and other types of involvement. So I'm hopeful. I thank you guys for joining these efforts, and I hope that we could hold some things accountable.
I just wanted to add, one of the things that struck me when we were talking about this lawsuit is, you know, we used to think of watching television and that just was to drive commercials and get you to watch things, and they'd pay actors $1 million an episode. We are supplying the content for social media for free, and the companies are making a lot of money off advertising. And until something painful enough happens, they're going to continue this behavior. And so that's really what this lawsuit is about, is really trying to change that behavior.
I think it was pretty painful for them.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. I think they flew home in their jets and felt fine.
Well, we thank y'all. I'm glad to support this. And this is one of those, how do you get the genie back in the bottle?
Well, let me just say, on a different note, congratulations on your employee survey. That's really good news. And we've said it before when we meet with you, but maybe not in this venue. We really appreciate the working relationship that the Board of Commissioners and the school board has right now. I think it's better than it's ever been, and so thank you for your support.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Ms. Laus, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor, the next item is item 8.1, ordinance 4869-24. This is the first reading and public hearing for an ordinance to amend fiscal year 2024 budget passed by ordinance 4848-23.
Did you find some extra money?
Working on it.
Okay.
Of Destin Thompson, our budget director here.
Thank you, Ms. Ball. Good evening, everyone. The ordinance before you tonight amends the FY24 budget. It does include funding for 3 new positions, an accounts payable position in finance, and the parks planner and trails maintenance positions in Parks and Rec. This amendment also includes several capital items. Included in capital is $120,000 for trail maintenance, equipment for trail maintenance. We also have equipment proposed to come out of the drug fund, and this includes a vehicle as well as a replacement of tactical vests. The projects that you see on number 4 here, Ash Street Courthouse and the TVA Credit Union Ballpark, those projects do both require additional funding. Courthouse is $500,000, and the ballpark is just north of $330,000. Lastly, this amendment does recognize the grants that have been received by the police department since July 1. Those grants total $1.275 million. That does include the $825,000 SRO grant. That's a big chunk of it. The items in this amendment are funded through a combination of additional revenues, reallocation of funds, and the use of unassigned fund balance. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, myself or Mr. Willis or Mr. Trivett. Otherwise, we recommend approval on first reading after public hearing.
Is the capital projects, the 834, is that fund balance, is that primarily, or some other?
Primarily fund balance on that.
And what did we put back to fund balance at the close of last fiscal year?
I have not seen the 23 audit, so I can't
We
answer.
are very close.
I mean, like, broad brush.
I would,
Okay, I'll leave it alone.
I can follow
But
up
some.
with you. and
Yeah,
send some.
no, but we did have some. I mean,
Yes.
so we're not, it's not like the rainy day fund is only being drawn out. The
No,
idea of the fund balance is
the
there's been money
unassigned
put
fund
back.
balance is above and beyond any rainy day fund restrictions,
Mhm.
anything like that. Yes, sir.
Public hearing.
I'll move for.
Well, no, you gotta have your public hearing.
All right. At this time, we will open the floor up for public hearing. Seeing there is no one, we will close the public hearing.
I will move for approval of the amended budget.
Second.
Ms. Laus, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Commissioners, your next order of business is item 9.1. This is a second reading and public hearing for ordinance number 4870-24. This is again the second reading and public hearing, providing for the conveyance of a certain parcel of real property owned by the City of Johnson City to B&B Williams family. And Assistant City Manager Trivett will provide any updates since the last time that you heard this.
There have been no changes. The gentleman that's looking to purchase the Holston building, as we call it, is waiting for the process to go through so he can close on the property.
All right, thank you, Mr. Trivett. At this time, we will open the floor for public hearing. Seeing there is no one, we will close the floor for public hearing.
Move approval.
Second. Good luck, John.
All right. Ms. Laus, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioners, that concludes the formal agenda for tonight.
All right. Well, we will ask commissioners for any final comments before we conclude. I will turn to my right and allow Commissioner Joe Wise to provide comments first.
Good night.
Commissioner Brock?
Yeah, I particularly want to thank Public Works and our community development folks. I know it was a long process with the Christmas trees, and it was frigid weather when it was time for them to come down. And so they've worked really, really hard. I've been through downtown while they've been taking all the decorations down, but I think sometimes we just take that for granted, but there's a lot of work that goes into that. And I think, Mr. Trivett, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, there's 17 strands of lights on every tree.
On every tree.
On every tree. Okay, well, I'm telling you, there's 17 strands of light. And it's a lot to do all that and to take them off, but thank you.
The wind helped a lot.
Yeah, I saw a lot of them over, but anyway, please give them our thanks for that. They do a beautiful job for the citizens, and when they see, and I know they're down there a lot, and they see the reaction that they receive from the public, and I think that probably helps reinforce that what they're doing is pretty special.
Thank you for saying that.
Commissioner Hunter?
Happy Groundhog Day tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday to my wife tomorrow. I just remembered. It's Groundhog. Good thing I got that card already.
So since it's Groundhog Day, you would marry her again
Yeah, again and again, just like the movie. It just keeps it. Yes, we are.
I have just would ask the members of our community, we have an employee in the fire department who's very ill and in intensive care, and just to keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And it's a younger firefighter in good shape, and so I'm sure his family would appreciate all of that.
Thank you for your comments, and I will conclude by saying, Sonny, we're going to miss you. Thank you for all your hard work, dedication, and loyalty to this organization. You will be greatly missed, and may God bless you in your future endeavors, and may the Lord be with our fellow firefighter who is having some health challenges. May the Lord give him healing and peace during this time. In Jesus' name. At this time, we will adjourn the meeting.